Ladies and gentlemen, it is the 3rd of February. So we've got lots to talk about, clown world included. Shall we begin? Let's begin with, there's been another assassination in Moscow. Now, I really don't understand why there isn't a huge price on Budanov's head and on the heads of SBU. These people are going to have to be destroyed, and honestly, the people that trained them and prepared them should pay the same price. I don't care what organization they belong to or continue to belong to, because they're enablers of terrorism, and terrorists deserve only one thing. So, Sarkisian was murdered in his apartment building. He is, or was, the president of Boxing Association, and he also was the commander of Arbat, which was a volunteer battalion that's fighting on the front. Somebody set off a bomb in the lobby. Pretty tight security, but there's no such thing as absolute airtight security. Somebody's willing to put enough effort in, and time, and most of the time they'll get through, at least partially. Now, it's often the human factor. Now I'm saying that the guards may have been corrupt or something like that was bought off. Though that happens too. Most of the time it's carelessness, exhaustion, not following procedure that allows somebody to pull or sneak in an explosive device. And most of these assassination attempts they happen near people's houses or in their neighborhoods, because they feel secure there, and they let their guard down. And that is a huge mistake. Always a huge mistake. Because where else, more than likely, is somebody going to try to take your life or damage? It's going to be in your house. If they're specifically targeting you, it's going to be somewhere near or around your house, because you're always going to come back to that house. Trying to find a person all over a city, unless they have very specific march routes and specific areas that they're in, specific graphics, it's very difficult. But they're almost always sooner or later at their house. Whether that's an apartment building, a separate house, and so on. There's also fire in VDNH. VDNH is the World Fair building, World Fairgrounds, which has been built up. This is World Fairgrounds, I think, from the 1960s. I have to look up the exact date that it was on. It was somewhere around the 1960s, in 1950s. Anyways, it's been repaired. There used to be a gypsy market there. Everything was cleared away. It's a huge area for lots of pavilions, museums, attractions, including Buran, which is the old Soviet shuttle. It's standing there too, so you can kids can go in there. There's a lot. There's really a lot to do, and there's a lot goes on there. In this case, fire was in the 59th Pavilion, which is a pretty big, huge building. It's the Museum of Heroism. So heroes from the Great Patriotic War and so on. It was closed, so nobody suffered. So it may have been, of course, a short, may have been a industrial type accident, or it may have been set on purpose. But of all places, I'll tell you what what the Chachol is this aiming for, the VSU and such, SBU, is to destroy Russian history. It's to try to hit on Russian heroes, because lacking their own history, because we're dealing with an artificial entity, they try to destroy those that only enforce the fact that they're an artificial entity. For those who don't know, the very word Ukraina means hinterland. So Ukrainians would be translated as hinterlandians. If you show me anywhere on a map that there ever existed a nation by the name of Hinterlandia, yes, there hasn't been. And there never will be again. Ukraine is facing destruction on more levels than one. Doo-doo who is a fanatic. Let's not beat around the bush. He is an absolute fanatic. He's more than happy, from sources I have in Poland and interviews I've done. He's more than happy to waste half of the Polish population as long as he gets to build his Rzeczpospolita, the Polish Empire, back again. So getting the western provinces, which he's aiming for, don't get wrong, he never gave up on that. So getting the western provinces is good and much better if there are no Ukrainian men left. So small children can be retrained and readjusted as Poles, and the women are good for making more Poles. However, the men, you don't really need them. So the more of them they get killed off on the front line fighting us, the better for the Poles. I mean, let's look at it realistically. But Dudu figured something out, made a statement that, when the SVO ends, SMO for you guys, Latin-based languages, when the SMO ends, there are going to be a lot of Ukrainian gangs and organized crime from people that are used to fighting and killing and who are well armed. And that's going to be a problem it already is a problem for the European Union. It's going to be a much bigger headache for the European Union or whatever's left of the European Union. It's going to be a very big problem for Poland. But they're working on a solution for that. As a matter of fact, the colonel in the Ukrainian army, by the name of Sergei Grabsky, he stated to Union, which is a Ukrainian news channel. And you got to remember, all Ukrainian news is under control of Zelensky. He nationalized everything, to total control of information. But he told them that you need to start getting the soldiers ready in kindergarten. I mean, let's not forget, Hitler-Jungen wasn't just mid-teenage boys. They went down to 8 and 10-year-olds at the end. So these guys, look, if they started with 6-year-olds in kindergarten, 3 years on, they're 9 years old, they're ready sent to the front. I mean, get maybe a couple shots out of them, or they could run up with a grenade. I'm sure these guys are more than happy to throw the kids away. Why not? I mean, to the ones that are making money off of this, they're amoral people anyways. The $100 billion that Zelensky lost, I'm sure it didn't get to Ukraine. It didn't probably get to Zelensky's pockets or the pockets of his buddies, because all that just went falling right back as a gigantic money laundering operation. The world's biggest money laundering operation went rolling on back into the U.S. pockets of various politicians and firms. By the way, we're talking about money laundering and waste, and I'm writing an article in Russian on this. The waste in Iraq and Afghanistan. Do you understand that the bottom range of what this cost the U.S. Government, those two failed wars and long-term occupations, and the U.S. is still occupying portions of Iraq, even though the Iraqi government that's supposed to be free now told them to get the hell out, and from Trump's previous administration had told them to get the hell out. They said, nope, we're going to do whatever we want. Screw off. Well, 7 trillion, that's the bottom range. Higher upper range I've read up to 11 trillion. It's a third of the U.S. national debt, which is an insane debt as it is, that's going to kill America no matter what Trump thinks he's doing. Because the only way you can stop this is now crashing the U.S. Currency and saying, we're no longer going to pay anything back. I mean, anybody with half a brain cell should realize the U.S. government's never going to pay its debts back. It can't physically pay its debts back. The debts are bigger. The realistic debts are bigger than just the federal debts are bigger, almost as big as everything that's owned in the U.S. And when you throw in the state debts, the municipality debts, God forbid the corporate debt and the private debt, come on. But just the government debts, not just the federal level, but the state and municipality debt, is more than everything that America owns. That's right. You're bankrupt. 100%, probably 100, about 10, 12% bankrupt. So, yeah. Let that roll on and on and on. So, but yeah, so no, let's get the kiddies ready at 5 and 6 years old. Teach them what a grenade is and a mine is so we can prepare them for a bright future of a big bang. And it's over. I mean, these people are animals, right? I mean, the people that suggest that are absolute animals. And the people they serve are absolute Satanists. But when you consider Ukraine, just let this sink in. Not only is Ukraine the hub for weapons, now is the hub for drugs. It is the hub for missing and abused children. And it is the hub for organs. And here's something you consider. Organ donation doesn't come from dead bodies. You can't harvest organs from a dead body. You can't bring a dead body from an auto wreck or from the front lines and cut it off for organs. Those organs are already damaged, and they're going to be continuing damaging from lack of oxygenated blood that stops flowing pretty much at the moment the heart stops beating. Maybe a little bit more of a flow still left just by inertia, but it doesn't go very far. Organs are donated from living bodies. They may be brain dead, but it's a living body. So when they get children's organs, just let that sink into your brain, what we're talking about here. And if that doesn't disgust the hell out of you, if that doesn't want to make you want to destroy the people that do this, then you have no soul. Or you already sold your soul to the devil. Ukraine in taxes last year off of organ sales made $4 billion. $4 billion. Think about how many organs, think about how many people were killed to harvest those organs. We'll move on. So, yeah. How's that Panama? Panama folded like a cheap suit, which is interesting because Panama's still going to lose the Panama Canal. If they think they've appeased Trump and his all they've done is they've cut Chinese support for themselves. I mean, this is really stupid, but they've done it. This is clown world stupid. Molino has agreed to get the Chinese out of the Panama Canal. You gotta understand, the Chinese have management contracts where they manage the ports, and they have contracts to repair the canal. Something that U.S. companies didn't want to deal with. Okay? First of all, that canal is, for strategic purposes, is pointless for the U.S. Navy now. There's not a single U.S. aircraft carrier in service that can fit in that canal. The smallest U.S. aircraft carriers are 8 meters too wide for that canal. Super tankers, not going through it. Canal's outdated for modern super tankers, for modern aircraft carriers. Sure, I mean, cruisers can pass through it. Destroyers can pass through it. But you're not going to take a nuclear carrier-based fleet and move it through that canal. It's not going to do it. It's impossible. It doesn't fit. You'd have to widen that canal. You'd have to widen it quite a bit, and that's gigantic money that the U.S. isn't willing to spend. U.S. will grab that canal no matter what, because Trump. It's not about security. It's about imperialism and control of resources. Panama's going to lose that canal. They may have a small firefight put on their hands. America will take it. And they've cut out the only support they would have had down there at that point, real support, and it would have been the Chinese. China still wouldn't have gone to war for them, but they could have at least gotten diplomatic support. They're not going to even get that now. Stupid is as stupid does. That's clown world for you, baby. But the Canadians, they came back with tariffs, counter tariffs, 25%. Now, if you know anything about the Canadian economy, high tech in Canada and manufacturing was booming. in the 70s, 80s, and starting to die off in the 90s, and was dead by the 2000s. The U.S. destroyed Canada's high-tech economy, where it bought them out, where it forced them out, and so on and so on. Canada is a resource-based economy now. That's the bottom line of what you can do. Australia is that. That's what they kept accusing us Russians of being. Except for some reason we can out-manufacture all of NATO by several fold. Because Russia is not only the fourth largest economy by PPP. We've also got about the fourth largest manufacturing base in the world, and it's growing constantly. By the way, you want a job as manufacturing facilities, tool use, CNCs. Russia's hiring, baby. Russia is hiring. And for that matter, if you are a carpenter or a professional construction engineer or constructor, Russia's hiring. You know, Mariupol has been put on its feet. It's halfway rebuilt in less than 2.5 years. And there's so many other cities, and there's a lot of greenfield projects have been gone up in Mariupol, and new projects are going on in different locations. So this is a great opportunity. If you're a builder, professional builder, electrician, your plumber, what have you, you've got work for career-wise in these new territories, because everything needs to be rebuilt. Even villages and towns that were taken more or less intact still need massive infrastructure projects, because the Ukrainians did nothing for them. For 30 years they did nothing for them. Things just fell apart, or people did what they could on their own. So everywhere there is going to be a lot of work, career-wise. So while things are folding up at home, there is an opportunity. If you've got the gonads to go get it. Most people won't. They'll complain, but they'll sit on their butts. But we'll see. So, we continue. Clown world, or how to make friends with the Turks. Now, I don't trust Erdogan. Flat out. Erdogan's trying to put his butt on every stool for every side he can possibly find. That's his nature. He's not a trustworthy person, but he's proven useful for now, so like it or not. But Russia was building for Turkey a nuclear power plant at Russia's expense, which I'm against, because even if Erdogan always holds his word, there is no guarantee that the next person who sits the chair is not going to nationalize that project and rip up Russia's guarantees, because Russia's supposed to make its money back off of selling electricity. Well, now that project's gone to hay. Why? Because the $2 billion needed to finish that project were in dollars, first of all. And second of all, they're in JP Morgan, Russian dollars. Not rubles, I mean Russian-owned dollars. It got confiscated. Well, stolen by the U.S. government. Let's put it how it is. But that means Turkey doesn't get a nuclear power plant. It's going to make NATO ally Turkey real happy. I mean, Erdogan must be thrilled, because the Turkish economy, especially in central Turkey, especially toward Ankara, was really, really aiming for the energy needs that power plant was going to supply. No more. Uncle Sam decided to do a little bank robbery, because he's good at that. And he's wondering why everybody wants to go away from the dollar. Oh, I'll slap on 100% tariffs on bricks. Okay. And where are you going to get your subcomponents, your materials, or your finished goods from? The U.S.? Sorry, baby, it doesn't work that way. And I'll tell you why it doesn't work that way. U.S. has got a very anti-manufacturing environment. And a lot of this is on state level. Now look, when you get insurance for on-the-job incident insurance, that you have to buy for every person, that the cost of that insurance is based off of a percentage of the person's salary. And that percentage is based by categories of work. In most states, for example, if the person works in an office building, so he's a programmer, he's a clerk, whatever, accountant, whatever, he's working in an office building, so he's not exactly high risk. He may get a staple through the finger or a paper clip in the eyeball. They're shooting at each other anyways. But the worst case, he'll fall out of his chair from falling asleep in it. It's 5%. It's 5%. So if he's making $100,000, the employer pays $5,000 to the insurance company to cover him on the job insurance for the workplace. Now, not sure how they cover that if the person is working from home, but as an employee, not as a individual businessman or self-employed. Now, if he's working at a manufacturing facility with heavy equipment, drills, presses, it's 70 to 80%. So right off the bat, just to cover the insurance costs, on the job insurance costs at a manufacturing facility, you're basically paying for two people. Hire one, pay for two. And the prices, especially if they're unionized, the prices that you pay for these people, you can buy a small squad of employees in most, especially Eastern Asian countries or Latin American countries. Then you got the environmental, you got health, safety, environment, oftentimes absolutely asinine laws on controlling electricity, infrastructural issues, bad roads, not enough electricity, problems upon problems upon problems, and all these problems on all these idiotic rules, extremely expensive energy. They're all built up over time, and companies start running away. They started leaving for various reasons, tax reasons, and so on and so on. Now, you want them to come back, you don't put tariffs on first. First, you fix that environment. But that takes time, and a lot of time and effort, especially considering a very large chunk of these problems are in state level government, state regulations. And federal government can't do a lot to fix them. And you can do some pressure on them here and there, withhold federal taxes or federal funds for roads or things like that. But it really can't do that much. Plus, you don't have a... seriously, look up last year's statistics. 21% of the American population, the Native American population, not Indians, but the population was born in America, today's America, are factually illiterate. 21%. 53% read on a 6th grade level or lower. America's 6th grade is like getting 4th grade in Russia. So every second American is reading on I'm not talking foreigners, I'm talking Americans. Every second American in modern America is reading on a level of 6th grade, American 6th grade, not Russian or Chinese or Japanese 6th grade, or lower. Or lower. Do you understand what I'm talking about? They're effectively semi-literate at best and totally illiterate at worst. And this is supposed to be a first world nation. And consider how much money America spends on education. Jeez. You're better outsourcing the education, sending the kids to schools in China or India or Russia or somewhere else. They'll get a better education that way. So you have to fix all that to make a fertile environment for companies to come and want to set up shop in the U.S. or in any other country. That's the first thing. Then you bring in tariffs to keep people from coming in and keep bringing goods in from cheaper countries to level it out. Or you put on such high tariffs that they can't bring it in. But that's only if your own companies can fully fill the demand level and with a surplus. Keep prices from going too high. Because what's going to happen right now? Okay, say my goods cost $1, and my major competitors, half of the market is taken up by importers, and they got 100% tariff. So now it's $2. Well, first of all, who's going to pay those $2? I'll give you a hint. It sure as hell ain't the manufacturer, and it sure as hell ain't the importer, which may be the same one. It's going to be you, the end consumer. And guess what happens to the American producer? that looks and goes, wow, my $1 mark, now my competitor is at $2. I'll go up to $1.90. I'm getting really good profits. The U.S. consumer gets screwed. From Russia, America imports heavy sour crude. The only other two places are Iran and Venezuela. So, like it or not, you're getting it from us. And why? Because not to get it from us, you would have to retool. You either have to accept it from Venezuela or Iran, which isn't going to happen for political reasons, or you're going to have to retool all those cracking plants, all those oil refineries in Belmont, Texas, in Lafayette, Louisiana, and so on and so on. That arc. Now, that's going to cost you billions of dollars. And those plants are going to be down because you're now changing the chemical process in the cracking stream, because those plants are set up to clean out the sulfur. They're set up to make the heavy oil lighter and for the cracking process. So that's going to cost a lot of money. And that's going to disrupt production of gasoline. And guess what happens next? That's right, boys and girls. Gas and diesel prices skyrocket. Doesn't look good for a president, does it now? So we'll do the tariffs. You know why Trump and others like Trump likes tariffs, as opposed to sanctions. I sanction a country that makes the telephone. There are no more telephones on the shelves. People notice that pretty damn quick, and they get pissed off. I tariff the telephone that's imported, and we don't manufacture our own, so I just tariff what's imported. The telephones are still on the shelf. But since you have basically almost 50% illiterate population, because those semi-literates, they don't understand economics. I'm quite sure a lot of literate people don't understand economics, even the basis of economics. Unfortunate to say. So what happens with that is, those people, they want to pay in high prices. And then you could say, oh, it's Putin tax, for example, and Biden liked it, or some other tax. But the U.S. government is making more money off of everything, off of you. Oh, they like tariffs. The goods are still on the shelf, and they're making a lot of money off those goods. It's a huge tax. Plus you got the sales tax. This is basically a sales tax on top of that. And you get to pay for it. And most people don't even understand what's going to happen to them, why those prices are going up, or why the manufacturing prices in the U.S. manufacturer is going to go up. Never mind the subcomponent issue. Subcomponents and materials go up in price, and guess what, baby? That's right. And the other thing the U.S. imports from Russia is uranium rods, fuel rods. Russia doesn't own the majority of the world's uranium. Actually, that's in Kazakhstan. But Russia has, the gas station masquerading as a country, or other stupid crap that Western politicians love to say. Russia has 70% of the world's capability for enriching uranium for fuel rods. Processing and enriching uranium ore from the trace amounts of uranium in chunks of rock down to concentrated uranium and to the level, I'm not talking nuclear fission for nuclear weapons material, but high enough levels of uranium to form nuclear fuel rods. 70% of the world's capability is in Russia. We are the monopoly. You don't want to buy from us, go get a line from, I think France can still do it. U.S. can't do it. France, I think, can still do it. And though, still not enough. Like it or not, they're still buying from us. So, run along, get in line, and pay a lot more money. Or, still buy from us, and it's just the end consumer is going to suck up that 100% tariff. Woohoo! Not going to bother us any. Now, on the other hand, the counter tariffs from Canada and from China on American manufactured goods or American produce, that's going to hit. Especially if they can get from others. Well, look, China put tariffs or sanctions on American produce. China didn't suffer because guess what? We're next door. They just started mass buying in Russia. And Russian agriculture companies got their foot in the door and then charged on through into the hall and into the living room and are now sitting at the dining room in the kitchen of China. Lots and lots of Russian goods. So even though the Chinese said, okay, fine, we'll part of our make things nicer, we'll continue buying some American goods. Part of that market is already gone because they get Russian goods, higher quality, food items, cheaper. Logistics costs are dirt cheap when you can railroad it up and right across the border instead of putting it on a ship for 3 weeks. And when it comes to things like hog farms, because the Chinese love pork, Russian companies started building hog farms on the Russian side of the border. Pigs multiply pretty damn quick. So you can get a pretty big pig herd pretty damn quick, within a year. And start feeding the Chinese market, and that's exactly what we did. The tariffs aren't going to work. But the people cheer it on because it makes them feel masculine. Woo! We'll show them. Oh, dumbasses, you're just showing yourself. You're just showing yourself that you need to do some more reading. Get your education level higher. Don't know if Trump understands it or not himself. Because he's into building, he's into show, he's not into economics particularly. And then the final clown world, that takes it for Denmark. You know, when the pimp comes, pimp's love is a special kind of love. And the EU NATO crowd are the whores of the pimp. Pimp loves his whores. He loves them so much, he's willing to put some discipline on them. Backhand that Danish whore a few times because she's been holding out on the pimp. And the pimp wants Greenland. That's right, baby. Pimp wants Greenland. He wants the oil in the subsea on the shelf around Greenland. Most of Greenland's mineral resources, not a lot of mineral resources up there, but the problem is they're under a kilometer of ice. You're not going to get to it. It's a hell of a lot of digging before you get to the ground, and that ice shifts. Let's not forget that. Not to mention there's volcanic activity under that ice. There's a lot of water there. It stays warm because it's under massive pressure. Or stays liquid anyways. Maybe not warm, but it stays liquid because it's under massive pressure. And there's heat from the underground. But there is oil off the shelf. Never mind the military bases. So the pimp decided he's going to backhand that little hoe of his called Denmark. He's going to take what he wants. That's how pimp's love is. But the hoe, she doesn't want to go down that easy. She's got a little fight in her. So she turns to the other hoes and says, EU, NATO, you have to back me against the pimp. Yeah, right. We'll be backing you from way, way, way back there, and praying that the pimp doesn't decide he wants the Shetland Islands tomorrow, or some or watch out, he might take the island of Copenhagen for himself, or some Norwegian islands. Why not? While we're at it, maybe Gibraltar, or maybe the Canary Islands, because hey. A pimp's love's like that, baby. It's like that. A pimp can blow up your gas lines. And your hoe, she's going to thank you for it. Because she understands that backhand that the pimp gave her is for her own good. That's right. So, pimp, now that hoe better have her money. All the money. And the pimp's waiting. So Denmark, she's gonna learn the pimp's love, the hard pimp's love. Oh well. Buy some popcorn, kick back, and watch the show. Promises to be short, but maybe possibly interesting. But short, because Denmark, it's a short country with not much of anything. But what's going to happen in Greenland is going to be, it's already there, an independence movement. And then what happens after that either gets annexed by a battalion of American Marines, or the new government installed by the US is just going to sign over everything. And the result, when you have 56,000 people, I can't expect much from it. Signing off. God bless.